My sister hijacked my graduation for her wedding. So I boycotted it, took my siblings with me, and we made her regret it for life. I am 23, a male and one of 7 children. There's Lily 31 female, Liam 28 male, James 25 male, me Daria 21 female, Nadia 18 female, and Lexi 4, a shocked child. With so many siblings it's easy to become lost in the bustle. Some of us have our roles, so to speak. Lily is the oldest, Lexi is the infant, and I have a child. Yes, that is my description. OP blessed us with a grandchild, and Daria is the best. She was the last planned child, the one who was supposed to complete our family. She was born prematurely, so I realized that my parents coddled her to some level. But it's gone beyond that now. Daria is getting married, and she recently informed us that she has moved the date forward owing to a cancellation. Not a big deal. It only means they'll get married sooner. But the new date coincides with Nadia's high school graduation. Daria was empathetic but stated that she had already committed to the date. They have printed the invites. My parents always go crazy for our high school graduations, but they stated they'd have to miss Nadia's. We were all sympathetic and assumed it wasn't deliberate. Or so I thought. However, Nadia later told James that she was present when Daria received the cancellation call and informed her that she was graduating that day. But Daria simply laughed and accepted the date. As much as I hate to admit it, this seems like a very Daria thing to do. She scheduled her engagement party on the night of Nadia's 18th birthday. Fortunately, she didn't celebrate till the weekend. She revealed her engagement on my oldest sister's wedding anniversary. It's all about her. When I challenged Daria about this, she replied Nadia's high school graduation didn't matter. She wanted to marry the love of her life sooner, and our family had already attended numerous high school graduations. She said something like, "We still have Lexi." But here's what bothers me the most. Nadia has been looking forward to this for a long time. She's seen all of us graduate and have massive festivities hosted by our parents. I asked Nadia what she wanted, and she answered she just wanted to have her day. So I informed my family that Nadia and I will not be attending the wedding. James has also pulled out. Everyone is upset. Daria is upset, and I didn't help matters by telling her that I could watch our other siblings marry because it's all the same to her. Mom is trying to persuade me to attend the wedding because graduation isn't as significant. But I feel like if I don't, it would set a precedent in Nadia's life that she will always be valued less than Daria. I've received messages calling me a jerk, moron, and so on. They advise me to stand up and be a good brother, but that is exactly what I am doing. My son is set to be the ring bearer, but given how my family is behaving, I'm thinking about pulling him out of the wedding too. My father has assured Nadia that he will take her to dinner after the wedding. Nadia is currently staying with me since her mother will not quit cornering her. Am I a jerk for missing my sister's wedding? Update number 1. It's 2 days after D-Day and I finally have an update. I had to condense it quite a bit because so much has transpired. Before I began, Nadia asked me to thank everyone who had congratulated her on her graduation. She was overwhelmed by the outpouring of support she received, especially after facing such opposition from our family. So let's start. Last Friday, James and I went to speak with our parents and Daria. I wanted to inform them that I would be withdrawing my kid from the wedding. Our older siblings also showed up, so there were 4 of us sticking up for Nadia. James had spoken to them the night before and helped them see things more clearly through Nadia's eyes. Apparently they didn't realize Daria set the day on purpose. There was a lot of yelling. Daria accused me of attempting to spoil her wedding, and our parents begged me to allow them to take my son to the wedding. But I held my ground. I felt more stronger having my older siblings beside me. There are only 2 years between me and Daria. I am not much of an older brother. Luckily Lily was present. Her words carried more weight as the eldest, and she did not allow Daria or our parents to debate. She informed them that Daria chose the date on purpose, admitted it in front of me and James, and that it was usual behavior for her. Lily warned them that if they continued to openly favor Daria, the rest of us would cut off contact and Lexi would most likely follow suit in the future. Our father started yelling. Surprisingly, it was directed toward Daria rather than us. I had never seen Dad so angry before, and to see it focused on Daria was shocking. Our mother begged us to go. We didn't hear from anyone on that side until Monday, when Daria's fiancé George invited us to meet at our parents' home. He apologized to Nadia. He had no idea that the wedding and graduation coincided or that Daria did it on purpose. Our dad was the one who told him. What ensued was a lengthy discussion in which we all aired our frustrations. I told our parents that we all believed Daria was more important to them than any of us. Her artwork was constantly displayed on the refrigerator. Ours were always stored in a drawer. I informed them that as a mom I couldn't imagine treating my child that way. Daria attempted to argue. She tried to convince us that we were attempting to transform her into a terrible man, turn our parents against her and spoil her wedding. Our mother advised her to be quiet since it was our time to speak. George stepped in and informed us that he did not expect us to attend the wedding, but we were welcome to attend the reception. He even went so far as to add that he hoped he could have cancelled the wedding entirely. But doing so would have cost him more money than he had spent moving it forward. Mom's willingness to listen to us lasted less than 24 hours. By Tuesday she had begged us to reconsider. Apparently our feelings were irrelevant in the face of Daria's severe stress. And many would question our absence on the big day. I haven't spoken with my mother since, but I did ask my father to bring me some of Nadia's belongings because she will be staying with me full time. We have formally ended all communication with our mother. On Wednesday Dad brought Nadia out to celebrate her early graduation. They had a daddy-daughter date which I believe she truly needed. He apologized for many things and promised to do the same for the rest of us. But Wednesday was about her. I'm glad she had that one-on-one time with him. She was glad to see me. In our sibling group conversation she stated that she believes Dad will make an effort to repair our relationship even if Mom will not. Dad also showed up early yesterday morning around 6:30 a.m. to offer Nadia flowers. He told her how proud he was of her. George even called while preparing for his big day to congratulate Nadia, which I greatly enjoyed. We did not hear from Mom or Daria. Our paternal grandmother ended up attending the graduation with us. It was a really amazing day. We didn't think about the wedding or Daria. We simply had fun together. My son got to wear his aunt's hat and gown and he almost drowned in the fabric. Our grandmother also tried on the headgear. We took photos and sent them to our father, who included them in a Facebook post congratulating Daria on her wedding and Nadia on her graduation. And we giggled about how that must have irritated our recently married sister. We went out to supper and as siblings we gave Nadia money for a week away with her best friend as suggested in a comment on the original post. I messaged George my congrats. Despite everything I hope he and Daria find happiness together. While she may not love us, I have no doubt that Daria loves him. Yes, she wants her spotlight and her moment. But I don't think she'll marry him for that. Bringing the wedding forward, sure, that's a very wicked approach to gain more attention. Marrying him only so you can have a wedding? She is not that type of narcissist. As of right now I intend to maintain no communication with my mother unless she makes significant adjustments. This sentiment is shared not just by the majority of my siblings but also promoted by our father and grandmother. She's attempted to contact me and my boyfriend, usually chastising us for not attending the wedding and accusing us of conspiring to keep her grandson away from her. Our summer is now looking busy. We intend to fill it with as many family outings as possible before Nadia leaves for college. We also have Liam's 29th birthday to plan. Our father has even joined in. This could exacerbate his rift with Mom. But for the time being it appears that we are his top priority. Lily's threat definitely got to him. Thank you to everyone who commented on the first post. I know they made Nadia feel better when she was wondering if she was doing the right thing by selecting herself. Part of me wishes we had taken this stance sooner, but it took us a long time to find our voices. Looking into the future, I see 2 vacant seats at my own wedding, but I also see 5 siblings supporting me. I'm pleased with that. Update number 2. It's been approximately 5 months since my last post and I've received several requests for an update, so I decided to sit down and write one. Keep in mind that a lot can happen in 5 months, which is certainly true in this case. Let me start with July. Daria and George went on their honeymoon and their absence caused our mother to panic. She wasn't used to not having anyone around. Someone was constantly there, mostly Daria, but the rest of us went out of responsibility to see Nadia and Lexi. Mom had no visits while Daria was on her honeymoon and the rest of us were out of contact, which she truly disliked. We began receiving phone calls the very next day after Daria had left. She attempted convincing Nadia first, which Lily saw as a strategic move because Nadia is the most timid of the group and hence more likely to be persuaded. When Nadia turned her down, she shifted her attention to the rest of us. We all received identical phone calls from her trying to urge us to see her, understand her and see things through Daria's eyes. She even mentioned Daria's early birth and how fortunate she was to be alive. Liam told her to be better with Lexi. Lily had blocked her number. When the phone calls did not work, she began showing up at our homes. She repeated much of what she had said over the phone and before the wedding. She didn't understand what she had done wrong or why we were treating her this way. She called me ungrateful and disrespectful. She accused us of harboring unfounded jealousy for Daria and said that she loved us all equally. I did not respond to the comments. I was just trying to stop her from going inside and saying the same thing to Nadia, who was in the living room with my partner and son. Her words did not warrant a reaction. And after she was finished I requested her to depart as calmly as possible. But honestly I felt like crying. But who wouldn't feel bad if their mother yelled at them like that, trying to belittle years of grief and calling it pointless jealousy? Since Daria's birth she and our father have repeatedly let my siblings and me down. They missed out on numerous opportunities over the years, both large and minor. But we had one thing that they never missed, and we were content with just that. And that concludes our high school graduations. But they couldn't give it to Nadia. All we had were our high school diplomas. Daria broke her leg, thus they were unable to attend Liam's college graduation. I understand it was an accident, but they never compensated him. They never praised his enormous triumph afterward, so he had to grin and bear it. Our mother did not attend my partner's baby shower despite making such a big deal about it, since Daria refused to go, and instead they got their nails done together instead. But is our jealousy unneeded? Sorry. I'm not sure how I managed to remain cool while she yelled at me, but I did. When I asked her to go, she changed her tactics and began shouting out for my kid, attempting to entice him to come to her and telling me that she had the right to see her grandson. My partner stepped in because she was enraged and took my place by the door. Mom yelled some more, but she fled after my partner threatened to call the cops. Mom tried this song and dance with my older siblings, but she got nowhere. Then followed the Facebook entries, which were oblique rants about ungrateful individuals and how astonishing it is that some children can so readily turn against their parents. Daria became involved while on her honeymoon and contacted Lily to reprimand her for being mean to our mother. But as I already stated, Lily is upset and has had enough. Whatever she said to Daria kept her from phoning the rest of us. There was then a Facebook post about how it hurt to be separated from a grandchild. There were no names stated, but there is just one grandchild, my son. My mother's sister called me. There was yelling. I blocked that number. I know Dad was trying to persuade your mother to just leave us alone. He continued apologizing since she simply wasn't listening to him. Daria returned home after 2 weeks. She attempted to contact Lily again, requesting that we all meet because, as Lily stated clearly, we all have some issues to work out. We did not show up. Daria was furious since she was not used to us failing to show up for her. July wasn't all horrible either. While our mother went on a rampage, our father continued to attempt to do better for us. And he has made significant progress. In July he and I went out to eat and drink together. He apologized. It wasn't a generic apology about how sorry he is for hurting and neglecting all of us. He mentioned particular occasions for which he wanted to apologize. He reflected on all those years and identified specific situations for which he wished to apologize to me. I know he did the same thing for the others, but I wasn't expecting him to apologize for canceling a fishing trip because Daria needed him. And while I never liked fishing, I wanted to go on that vacation because I had seen it on TV. I'd constantly see a father and son fishing together, and I wanted to have that. I wanted Dad to show me that I was a priority to him someplace deep down. It didn't happen, so I never asked again. But we went fishing in July. What began as a trip for the two of us quickly turned into a family outing when my siblings expressed an interest in going fishing too. My boys first, then Nadia, and finally Lily, who despises the scent of fish. Dad came, Lexi, and I brought my son, and it was wonderful. It was one of the happiest days of my life. I'm terrible at fishing, but I'm really good at collecting seashells. That was great. When Dad returned home, our parents had an argument. I wasn't present, so I don't know every aspect. However, according to Dad, the disagreement was primarily caused by Mom's confusion over why we were still in contact with him rather than her. She thought it offensive that we were trying to mend our friendship with him. She was upset that Dad wasn't pressuring us to forgive her or stopping us from acting out. She was also upset that he hadn't invited her and Daria on the fishing trip. She became even upset when he emphasized that their presence would make us uneasy. Liam turned 29 at the end of July. We reserved an escape room for all 5 of us siblings. Then we met our father and partners for dinner that evening. Liam presented us to his new partner for the first time. All of our attention was focused on Liam. This was a first for our family. The entire day was dedicated to him. Then his pals threw him a party and I left with a huge hangover. Mom began giving us the silent treatment in mid-August. Dad moved away in September. Dad bore the brunt of her rage while we were subjected to the silent treatment, and it took a toll. He was attempting to do better for us while she was attempting to portray us as villains. He eventually informed her that if she didn't accept responsibility for her conduct soon, he would contact a lawyer. Mom did not take him seriously. He has been staying in Lily's guest room since. Mom doubled down, saying he was blind for not recognizing how we were influencing him. Unlike the rest of us, Dad clearly maintains regular contact with Daria. And according to him, she has even asked Mom to rethink. Unsurprisingly, Daria's involvement prompted Mom to relent. I'm not sure if she's thinking about how she treated us or quietly stewing. I know she asked Dad if he was going to come back home, but he said it was best for them to have their own space for now. Personally, I find it difficult to envision a scenario in which our mother honestly accepts that she was wrong. I believe she will say that only to get Dad back home and the rest of us talking to her again. I don't believe she will ever hold us to the same standard as Daria. In more positive news, my own wedding is officially less than a year away. There is currently no place for my mother or Daria. My partner Jade and I are having our fathers wear ties that match me and my groomsmen, which I didn't want to do, but I'm pleased with the alteration. Nadia settled into college. She's making new acquaintances with the kids in her courses and enjoying it. She's happy. Despite having a busy group chat, she FaceTimes me every few days just to talk. Most of what she says I've already read in the group chat, but I'm always eager to hear her experiences again. Nadia never used to talk that much. She seems much happier now than she was 5 months ago. That, I believe, concludes things. I apologize for the novel, but as I mentioned, a lot can happen in 5 months. Update number 3. So it's been around 7 months since my previous update, and I felt it was long overdue. I planned to sit down and write one a few months ago, but life got in the way. A lot has happened. Most of it positive, some of it negative. I'm sure you can identify what or who was responsible for the unpleasant occasions. Mom was silent for Lily's birthday in October, but she did a big song and dance for Daria's in November. We don't monitor her social media accounts on a regular basis. And honestly, if it weren't for Lexi, we'd have blocked her. But James submitted a screenshot in the group chat of a post she had written. The message effectively portrayed Daria as the ideal child, a wonderful angel, and stated that she will always be proud of her. She made no mention of Lily on her page during her birthday, but I'm not surprised. Thanksgiving was different but enjoyable. We all drove out to our paternal grandparents' house a couple hours distant to spend time with them. Technically it was intended to be an in-law year, but Jade and I alternate who we spend it with so that neither of our families feels excluded. But Mom proposed we change things up this year so that I could spend the first major holiday with my siblings since the fallout. My in-laws are wonderful people who have been extremely helpful throughout this process, and I am very grateful to them. Mom didn't contact us on the day, but I could sense she was upset. It didn't help that she was asked questions after Lily shared a Thanksgiving Day photo without her or Daria. In December she opened a group chat with all of us and Dad, essentially telling us to stop the petty turmoil and focus on family. But neither of us is foolish. We all know she wanted to show off her picture-perfect family for Christmas. And how could she do it when all but 2 of her children can't abide being around her? Daria was in the group but did not speak up, which was unusual for her, but none of us took it seriously at the moment. Dad said he'd stop by to visit Lexi, but he didn't want to spend Christmas with her until she was willing to admit the anguish they had caused us. A week later she ignored my birthday, which was fine. It merely showed that she had no intention of acknowledging she was the evil guy. She grew more desperate as Christmas approached. The messages and phone calls came up again, but I was able to ignore them for the most part. What I couldn't ignore was getting home from work and finding her on my doorstep. She said she had been waiting for me for ages, as if I had planned her visit, which, given the nature of our relationship, I certainly would have. I'm simply glad my family wasn't home. Jade was on her way back from work while our son was with her parents. I didn't want to bring her inside, but considering how desperate she seemed, I didn't want to deal with her in front of my neighbors. This woman explained that Christmas was about family and forgiveness. She told me I was going too far in keeping her grandchild away from her and how confused he must be without her. She expressed it as if I was using my son to punish her. I assured her that it was best this way because we all knew what would happen if Daria had a child someday. My son would be pushed to the side like the rest of us were, and I did not want that for him. She stated I was being foolish and repeated the sentence. I love you all equally. I begged her to leave since nothing was altering my mind and I was not going to spend Christmas with her. She became angry. She began yelling. And while I'd like to say I remained calm, I didn't. I started yelling too. The more I yelled, the more agitated I became, to the point that I began crying. Reddit. This was years of hurt coming to the surface. I don't understand how she can profess to love us all equally while telling her weeping kid to stop being so theatrical. She only left when Jade returned and saw the situation I was in. Jade is small but fierce, and she will go to any length to protect me and my children. And I swear my mother was afraid of her that day. The number of social media posts increased again. She played the victim, posting about children not respecting the sacrifices their mothers make for them and so on. She posted that we didn't appreciate anything she had done for us, but we all ignored it. We celebrated our own Christmas. On Christmas morning Jade, our kid, and I headed to the in-laws where we watched our son and nieces unwrap their presents before heading over to Lily's house. She offered to host everyone this year. Dad took his seat in the kitchen along with his assistant chefs Liam and Lily's husband. We didn't see our mother or Daria until January. Lexi turned 5, so there was a party, and we weren't about to punish our sister for the actions of the demon that created us, so we went. There were a few queries, but no one pushed when it was clear that none of us wanted to talk about it. Mom pretended everything was all right, but Daria remained away from us. As we were helping clean up after the celebration, Mom stated it was fantastic that we were finally putting things behind us. Lily explained that the only thing we were putting behind us was her. That sent her off again, but she quickly realized she was outnumbered and went inside. That's when Daria approached us with her husband. I was expecting her to advise us to take it easy on our mother or something. Instead, she apologized. She stated that she had been thinking a lot since all of this began, and she recognized that she had treated us horribly her entire life, with some of that inspired by how our parents treated her. She informed us that she did not expect us to forgive her, but that she only wanted to apologize. We left a little bit later. There was quiet. We were anticipating it for James and Nadia's birthdays in late January and early February. After all, our days never meant anything to her. I got married in April without my mother present. It was easily one of the happiest days of my life, second only to the birth of my kid. Jade and I were surrounded by those we cared about the most and who cared about us back. I had both of my brothers as best men, and Nadia and Lily were also bridesmaids. It was better than I could have expected. To be honest, it still amazes me that I can now call Jade my wife. It has been great. But I'm sure you're all wondering how my mother handled this. And I can assure you that she did not handle it well. To be honest, when we sent out invites, I prayed that the news would not reach her. I hoped everything would go well enough that I wouldn't have to tell her about my decision. But of course that would be too simple. She arrived a few days later, beating on my door, insisting that I speak with her. I went outside. I didn't let her in despite the fact that the neighbors could see us, since I didn't want her inside my house with my son. I didn't want her to scare him, which she was obviously doing. She demanded to know what I was up to, how I could be so cruel, and how I could exclude her from such a precious occasion. I informed her honestly that my wedding was a day for me to celebrate with my closest loved ones, and she was no longer someone I considered close or loved. She had made her bed. She needed to lie in it. Part of me was worried she'd show up at my wedding. She returned to the house a couple more times, but stopped after I threatened to contact the cops. I didn't do it sooner because I guess I'm soft-hearted and didn't want to see my mother in difficulty. But every time Mom turned up to spout garbage about how I was a bad son for doing this to her, it depleted me. There were social media posts, of course. I had relatives contact me to tell me I should invite her, ask what type of son I am, and so on. But they stopped when I informed them I would also decline their invitations. Nobody mentioned her at the wedding, and she didn't try to attend. She did, however, try to stop Lexi from being a flower girl as promised, but Dad immediately intervened. Which brings me to the second point. My parents' relationship has officially ended. Dad sent her divorce papers in February, and I don't think he's looking back. This also surprises me because he was very similar to her this time last year. He cared more about Daria than any of us, dismissing our accomplishments if they conflicted with hers. And now he advocates for us. Every time Mom wrote something on social media that belittled us, he responded with an upbeat post. I never envisioned having such a positive relationship with my father, but here we are. We assisted him in moving into his own house back in March. He's a completely different person now. He's reached a 50-50 custody agreement with Lexi because as much as he'd like to have full custody, he wants to think she can change just like he did. He has, however, stated that if he discovers even the tiniest sign of Lexi being mistreated in the same way that we were, he would file for it. My brothers' lives are also going nicely. James earned a promotion at work and acquired a puppy that my son adores, to the point where I believe we might need to get a dog ourselves. Liam and his partner are going strong. He fits right in with our family, and I couldn't be happier for Liam. He has discovered someone who genuinely cares about him, and I can see he is in love. Perhaps there will be wedding bells soon. Lexi is 5 years old, so there isn't much going on in her life. I believe she recently forced my father to join her tea party. Edit. Some items I instantly wanted to include. Lexi is clearly aware that circumstances have changed. She's naturally perplexed about it all. Things change so dramatically in a year, and I can't imagine what it was like for her to live with our parents when Mom was constantly angry. We've told her that we'll always be there for her and that we're safe spaces where she can talk about her feelings or ask questions. We do not want this to have a greater impact on her than it already has. Liam is the one who has made progress on that. He works in child care and has previous experience with similar situations. Dad is considering setting up therapy for her. But I'm sure you're all curious about Nadia and Daria. Nadia's fantastic, she's really prospering. I believe that being away from our mother Daria and the pressures of home has helped her develop her own identity. She has made new friends, is doing well in class and is generally happier, which is all I care about. She is delighted and so am I. She has been invited to move in with my father now that he has his own apartment and enough room for her and Lexi. But she has yet to respond. She's welcome to stay here if she wants, but I know she also wants to be closer to our father. I'll support her no matter what, and I've told her she can try it with Dad if she wants and she can return if it's too strange for her. Daria is a different story. We are no longer in communication with her, although we are in low contact. After her apology at Lexi's party, James followed up to check if it was sincere. To be honest, none of us really knew what to do. Daria was never one to lower her head and apologize, but how could we tell if it was genuine and not a ruse to get us to forgive our mother or something? When James contacted Daria, she asked to speak with us in person and we consented since we were intrigued how things would turn out. We also agreed that if she did anything we'd leave immediately and block her again. The meeting took place in mid-January around Lexi and James' birthdays. We met at her place. Daria looked uneasy as if she hadn't slept all night. And it seemed strange because she is usually so well dressed. Even when she was having tantrums she looked better than this. We sat down and she apologized again. She said that she was unnecessarily nasty and unfair to us, particularly Nadia, and even apologized for attempting to spoil her graduation. She said that when we all dropped out of her wedding she was confused and hurt because none of us had ever turned her down before. She thought we were closer than that, but she now realizes it was only one-sided. She thought we were close and we wanted to go as far away from her as possible. We asked her questions and she answered each one. Why did you believe we were close? Because she'd been acting this way since childhood, aided in part by our parents' treatment of us versus her, and assumed that because none of us spoke up we were okay with it. Have you ever felt sorry? She didn't before this whole ordeal. It was natural for her to be the focus of attention. Everything was always about her and she was attempting to unlearn that. Why now? It ultimately came down to her spouse. He tried to talk to her about her treatment of us several times, but she never saw it as an issue. Because, well, we never made it an issue in the first place. He didn't like her reaction, but he loved her and she was gentler outside of our family unit. So he hoped that if he kept talking to her about it she'd ultimately cease. They clashed when she revealed their engagement on Lily's anniversary and then again when she scheduled their celebration for Nadia's birthday. He couldn't understand how she could be so harsh to her family, and she said that he didn't understand our family structure and we were fine with it. The events surrounding Nadia's graduation almost destroyed their relationship, and I'm not sure how she persuaded him to stay with her. George said he was on the verge of leaving. She stated she was on our mother's side for a while since she believed we were just acting out. We had never been like this before, so why were we doing it now? She didn't understand why we were ignoring her and abruptly cutting her off, and she admittedly had a meltdown about it. George reminded her that we had probably been carrying that hurt and resentment with us for years. She admitted that she was a brat, but she had no idea how horrible she was until George and our father lay it all out for her. That's why she advised Mom to leave us alone so we could relax from everything. And it turns out Dad wasn't the only one who took the brunt of Mom's rage. She was continuously blasting Daria's phone, showing up at her apartment and dragging our names through the mud. It got worse when Dad moved out and Daria became her sole source of support. Mom called us terrible names, which Daria thankfully did not repeat. Mom told Daria that she was all she had right now. George attested to how awful our mother was. He said he often came home from work to find Daria looking at a ringing phone. She didn't want to respond, but she knew if she didn't, Mom would ultimately show up at her house. I know Daria has been horrible to us since she was born, but seeing her like this hurts. I believe she was a victim of our mother's behavior, albeit in a very different way. She stated she wanted to reach out to us sooner, but she knew we wouldn't want to speak with her. She couldn't help herself when she saw us at Lexi's party and had to apologize. We parted ways conflicted. On the one hand, Daria was always selfish. She had been manipulative and outright cruel. She always managed to outshine us at every turn, every accomplishment. Nadia's graduation provided proof of this. On the other hand, she appeared exhausted. She appeared tired out. And she had a guilty expression. And I didn't want to believe it was all an act to persuade us to forgive her and then our mother. None of us knew how to proceed. But then Jade proposed that we invite her to the wedding, or more specifically the reception, after everyone has eaten. We had a few acquaintances arrive at the same time who were unable to attend the wedding owing to unforeseen engagements. That way if Daria attempted to bring our mother, security would catch it and we'd know for certain whether Daria had turned a new leaf. Reddit user Daria attended the reception. She didn't bring our mother, didn't even mention her. Daria and George arrived and she cried as she congratulated me. She told Jade she looked stunning and hugged my son. She pulled Nadia aside at some time and when they returned they both had tears in their eyes. Nadia subsequently informed me that Daria wanted to apologize to her one-on-one but wasn't sure whether she'd get another chance. George thanked me for giving Daria the chance. He told me she has the potential to be a kind and caring person. I told him that I hope to meet that version of her eventually. I mean it. If Daria is genuinely as kind, compassionate and great as George claims she is, I would love to meet that version of my sister. You may be wondering. OP, you forgot to mention Lily when talking about your siblings. It was on purpose. You see, it's a good thing Dad got out of her spare room. She'll need that space in a few months. And she is not the only one. I knew Lily was pregnant because she came down with me and Jade and told us she was pregnant and concerned about her bridesmaid dress, even offering to step down if it was an issue. Of course we urged her not to be foolish and that we would cover the expense of any necessary adjustments. Jade told me that she planned to have Lily make an announcement during the wedding speeches. I stupidly imagined Lily would disclose her pregnancy to our wider family. And while I was hesitant, I consented because Jade wanted it. And unlike others, she had received permission. Reddit. Lily gave a statement about pregnancy saying she couldn't wait to be a mother and was grateful to be sharing at least part of her prenatal journey with Jade. Reddit. This is how I discovered my wife was pregnant with our second child. Again. I wish I could say I remained calm, but I didn't. I cried. I couldn't help but be overjoyed. And I'm sure my pals will mock me for it for the rest of my life. It felt like everything we'd been through over the past year had been worthwhile, at least for that moment. To have my family gather around me in an event that was almost certainly about Daria and her wedding. I haven't shared my feelings about the past year with my mother. Honestly, I felt like garbage for the majority of it. I felt like curling up and disappearing. I felt disgusting and useless because my mother said I was. I felt like I couldn't express how I felt since Nadia was present and I didn't want her to blame herself any more than she already did. I'm currently in therapy and I'm not alone. I'm healing. Right now I'm happy. I can hardly believe how pleased I am. I'm happier than I have ever been and I am confident that my siblings will agree. Our mother will most likely claim that our family has broken apart, but this is not the case. Hers did. The family she created has disbanded, but ours has become stronger. It has grown really robust. We were formerly a united front, but it appears that we have updated our fortifications. We're coming out of this with better bonds with one another, a genuine relationship with our father and 2 new family members on the way. This is what our mother is missing out on, and it is entirely her own responsibility. Perhaps I will inform you again in the future. I'm not sure if our mother is aware of Lily and Jade's pregnancy, but the news has been made. We do have her blocked on social media, so perhaps no one has told her the good news. Daria has not, at least. So if anything changes on that front, I'll let you know. But for the time being I am content with my current situation. Thank you for your continued support and I hope you have a wonderful day. Update number 4. So it's been almost a year and as expected a lot has occurred. I considered leaving it another 2 months to reach the 1-year mark, but I don't trust myself not to forget. Mom found out about Lily and Jade's pregnancy shortly after my last report, which went as expected. Lily and I became the targets of her fury, as did our partners. We were the worst people ever. She showed up on my doorway and screamed via our Ring camera about how ashamed she is of how I turned out. I'm waiting for the day when her comments don't hurt as much. But she's my mother and I believe there will always be a part of me and my siblings who want her to love us. Honestly, I believe she produced 17 Facebook postings each minute. Each one portrayed us as villains for denying her her rights as a grandmother. She had our aunts phone us and tell us we were ungrateful. One of them managed to catch Jade on her way home from work one day and was not pleased when Jade told her where to stick it. I've never cut contact with someone that quickly. Police had to accompany Mom from Lily's property. We intended to wait it out at first, but after talking about it as a group, Lily and I felt it was best if we filed restraining orders against her. I couldn't risk my family's safety anymore. Fortunately they were granted and she has adhered to it. Since then the 4 of us have not seen or heard from her. But the others were not as fortunate. In July Daria cut Mom off. She blamed everyone but Daria for it. It was Lily's fault first, then mine and finally Nadia's. It was Dad, James and Liam's. Each of us was an adversary. Every one of us except Daria. I regret that I wasn't surprised. I hate that I was used to taking the blame. I talk a lot about how happy we are right now, but before that we were unhappy, furious and heartbroken. I felt like death. And Liam almost did. Parents are not supposed to make you feel this way. I hope to God that my children never feel this way because of me. I simultaneously despise and adore my father. He is trying. He is better. But he was once just like our mother. Dad also petitioned for complete custody of Lexi. I guess we've all recognized Mom isn't going to change, and the best thing we can do for Lexi is keep her from being like the rest of us. She is so little and I can't picture her going through what we did or worse when we had already escaped. Currently the conflict is still underway. Mom does not want to give up Lexi. However, due to her very public troubles with the rest of us and the restraining orders, Mom only gets to see her on weekends. Dad is still not satisfied. Lexi began returning home from her weekends with Mom claiming she did not want to go back. So Dad is working harder to remove Mom from the situation entirely. Daria has been more absorbed into our circle. This Daria is much nicer than the one I grew up with. I tell her a story and she doesn't roll her eyes or tell me that nobody cares what I have to say. She is far from perfect, but she is trying. We can tell her she has done something wrong and she will apologize. She is in therapy. We're also on the list for family therapy, all 6 of us including Dad. We're hoping it will help us move forward more. We hope it will allow us to heal. Mom may be a lost cause, but Dad and Daria are not. And honestly, it's more than I could have hoped for 2 years ago. Nadia aced her first year of college and is now doing the same in her second. She accepted Dad's offer to move in with him even though she knows she always has a place with me. She's much better at expressing herself now, so she won't let Dad get away with anything. Nadia and Daria are genuinely conversing now. They lived together for more than a decade but never actually chatted. Daria thought Nadia was beneath her and Nadia was terrified to offend Daria. They now communicate and bicker like sisters. As if they should have done it all along. To commemorate Nadia's great first year of college, Daria organized a girls' day for the 2 of them and Lily. This is the sister that we deserved. And we are the siblings Daria deserves in exchange. We no longer shrink beneath her. For once in our lives we are on equal footing. Daria is also doing well in her new job as aunt to all 3 members of the next generation. That's correct. My kid is no longer the sole grandchild. Lily gave birth to a daughter in September. She has incredible lungs and elephant-like strength, yet she's also adorable. Jade gave birth to our second son in November. He is quieter than our eldest and he used to sleep quite little. However, both Lily and Jade are doing well. They're doing fantastically. But I knew they would. Right now I am happy. And I'm content. My mother is unable to touch this. This is not hers to corrupt. She will never meet these lovely, loving children. And she will never know the versions of us that come after. I hope this is the last update. I hope this peace will last. Thank you for your unending support. You have no idea how difficult the previous 2 years have been, how beneficial your words have been to us. Thank you for watching. For more videos like this, remember to like and subscribe. Also remember to let us know your thoughts below in the comments.